Hello, so I'm Morteza Kordi, and now we are going to continue adding widgets, user interface widgets, to our linear layout horizontal here. So take a look at this component tree section here. Now let's select this first linear layout vertical inside this linear layout horizontal. And here I am going to talk about this layout width attribute and this layout height attribute. So here, let me actually make this area wider. Take a look at this layout width attribute. This one determines the width of that specific layout. So here we have this linear layout vertical. So we have this layout width, and the value is match parent. The match parent says that the width of this linear layout vertical is going to take the entire width of the parent. So what is the parent? The parent is this one, linear layout horizontal, because this linear layout vertical is inside this linear layout horizontal. So this situation says that the linear layout horizontal is the parent, and this linear layout vertical that is inside this linear layout horizontal is the child of this parent. So here it says match parent. So we have also other values. So just click on this little triangle here, and we have this one, wrap content. Wrap content is going to say that this layout is going to wrap around the content that is within it. So I'll talk more about this wrap content later, but let's select this one. Let's say wrap content. Now you can see that the width of this linear layout vertical is now changed to wrap content, but you can see that we have only just a line here, right? Because we have no contents inside this linear layout vertical. So let's add two buttons to this linear layout vertical, and you can see that the layout width is wrap content. So let's take a look at this palette section. Just click on all, and we have this button, right? Drag this button and put it here inside this component tree section. You can see that I am hovering over this linear layout vertical, this first one. Just put it here. So now a button is put here inside this linear layout vertical, right? So you can see now the width of this linear layout vertical is changed because I said that the layout width of this linear layout vertical is wrap content. It is actually wrapping around the content that is within it. So what is the content? The content is this button. So let's add another button to this linear layout vertical. So again, just click on all inside this palette section, select this button and drag it here and put it here inside this linear layout vertical, and then release it. Another button is added to this linear layout vertical. So now we have two more linear layouts here, right? So let's add an image to the second linear layout vertical. So select this second linear layout vertical, and here we have this layout width. Again, change this layout width to wrap content. And here, select this all button, drag this button to this linear layout vertical. Again, excuse me, we need to add an image to this linear layout vertical. So just select this button and then press on delete key on your keyboard. And let's click on these images here inside this palette section, and then select this image view and just drag it to this second linear layout vertical here, and then release it. So it's gonna actually open a window for you. So here we need to just select just the default image. We are going to change this image later, don't worry. Select this one, this IC launcher round, and then click on OK. So an image is added to this linear layout vertical. I just need to click on this little triangle here in order to open this linear layout vertical inside this linear layout horizontal. So now let's add a text view to this linear layout vertical. So again, just click on all, and here let's find a text view. So let's just scroll down here, and here we have this text view, right? Just select it and just drag it here and put it here inside this second linear layout vertical, and it's gonna, so you can see that this text view is above this image view. So let's change the place of this text view because I want this text view to be below this image view. So just select this text view inside this component tree section and put it below this image view. So now you can see that the place of this text view and this image view is actually changed. Now we have this third linear layout vertical. Let's add two more buttons to this third linear layout vertical. So inside this palette section, just click on all, and here scroll to the top, select this button and drag this button to this linear layout vertical here. But here you can see that I actually didn't change the layout width of this linear layout vertical to wrap content, and that's why you can see that this button is positioned like this. So in order to solve the problem, we need to set the layout width of this linear layout vertical to wrap content. So you can either select this linear layout vertical inside this component tree section, or you can just select it here. So just click on it in order to select it, and then let's set the layout width of this linear layout vertical to wrap content. So inside this attribute section here, just click on this little triangle and then click on wrap content. So now you can see that the layout width of this linear layout vertical is wrap content, and we have this button inside this linear layout vertical. So the width of this button is match parent. So it doesn't really matter because the layout width of this parent layout, which is this one, this linear layout vertical, is wrap content. So if you set the layout width of this button here to just, for example, wrap content, it's not going to change. Okay, it doesn't really matter. So let's set it to match parent like the other buttons. And now let's add another button to this linear layout vertical. So again, inside this palette section, click on this all and select this button and drag it here into this linear layout vertical. So here we have this button below this one. Now I want all these user interface components. By user interface components, I mean these buttons, this image view and this text view, and also these two buttons. I want all of these components to be center horizontal inside this parent layout, which is going to be the linear layout horizontal. So you know that, take a look at this component tree section. We have this linear layout horizontal, and inside this linear layout horizontal, we have 3 other linear layout vertical, right? So this means that this linear layout horizontal is the parent of these other 3 layouts. So select this linear layout horizontal. Now let's take a look at this attribute section. The attribute that I want to actually set here is this one, gravity. If you cannot see this gravity attribute, you can just click on this view all attributes. And in order to search a specific attribute, you just need to click on one of these just attributes here. Let's actually increase the width of this section, this attribute section. So just select one of these attributes, and now let's search for our specific attribute. So by the way, if you want to actually search for a specific gravity, make sure that you have selected this parent layout here inside this component tree section, so that you are actually manipulating the desired attributes. So here, just click on this linear layout horizontal, and inside this attribute section, you can see this search icon. Just click on it, and now we can search for a specific attribute. The attribute that we want to search for is gravity. So here it is, the gravity attribute. So open this gravity attribute by just clicking on this little triangle here. Now we have this center horizontal attribute, right? So now let's check this checkbox. Let's check the checkbox of the center horizontal checkbox here of this gravity attribute. So now you can see that all of these components, actually these 3 layouts, are now centered horizontally. So okay, what is the gravity attribute? The gravity attribute actually specifies the position of the child views. So we know that all of these user interface components, for example, this button, this image view, the text view, all of these components are the sub-views of the view class. This means that these components are actually views, because there is an is-are relationship between the view class and, for example, the button class or the image view class or the text view class. So the gravity attribute specifies the position of the child views. So what do I mean by child views? So you know that the linear layout horizontal is the parent of these 3 other layouts, right? So this means that these 3 other layouts are the childs of this linear layout horizontal. So now when I say that linear layout horizontal gravity attribute to be center horizontal, I mean that the child of this linear layout horizontal to be centered horizontally. So that's enough for this tutorial. Hopefully you've learned everything thoroughly in this tutorial, and if you have any questions about the concepts that I've taught you so far, please post a discussion in the course and I'll do my best to answer all of your questions. Thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next tutorial.